Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it all before. Start the pineapple diet and lose weight. Go keto and skyrocket your energy. Be vegan and your heart will thank you. Eat the carnivore diet and life will be awesome. And then you do it and your health gets worse. Your energy drops, you bloat up, you put on weight. And so today we have dedicated this episode to destroying fad diet myths. And we're starting right after this. Everybody, this is the Life Enthusiast online radio and TV network, restoring vitality to you and the planet. I'm your host, Scott Paton. Joining us as usual is Life Enthusiast health coach Martin Pytela. Hey, Martin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Scott. I'm
good.
Just
it's a good day.
It's a good day, grandfather.
So before we get into today's topic, I don't want to forget to tell everybody to join us on Telegram. As you know, when we're on the mainstream platforms, they don't like the truth. So we end up having to take everything and be uncensored on Telegram, and that's t.me/lifeinco. So make sure you join us afterwards. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave us a comment. And we already have our first comment. Almost forgot. Hey, George, thank you for joining us. Glad to see you're here.
Again,
yeah, one of our regulars. Every 2:30 Eastern time on Thursdays, we are live. So, Martin, the world is full of individuals. We keep talking about it. We're all individuals. We're unique beings, but we have some things in common. And the most obvious is some of us have darker skin than others. Some of us have brown eyes. Some of us have blue eyes. Some of us have full beards. Some guys cannot grow a beard. So there are differences. We're 6 foot tall. We're 5 foot tall. And we know that one size fits all is a lie.
You know, that is an important point, Scott, because it's really easy to practice medicine to numbers. You don't look at the patient. What you look at is the lab results. It comes as a piece of paper. You read the labs and you say, oh, yeah, this means this and that, and just go.
And just go. And it doesn't always mean that, right?
No.
So our TV advertisers, our Instagram influencers, they all want you to think that if you eat a banana a day, you'll keep the doctor away. And we all know it's really an apple. And our mission here is to restore vitality to you and to the planet. And that means something has destroyed your vitality. And the first step on that journey to health is understanding who you are and how that impacts your health. And for us, it all starts with metabolic typing. You've heard us talk about it many times. So Martin, let's get started. What is metabolic typing?
Yeah, so let me explain. If I were an average person, I would be half male, half female. I would have one ovary and one testicle. I would have one eye blue and the other eye brown. And I would have half of my hair blonde and curly and the other half straight and black. And maybe I would have some parts that would be redheaded. You follow me? Like if I were an average person, I would be as bad as a platypus. However, back in the 1930s, a dentist, actually, his name was Weston O. Price, went traveling around the world and studying people's diets and comparing it with their health. He was focusing on their teeth, but he noticed that many other things were showing up. One of them was crowding of the teeth, the jaws becoming compressed. Another one was that the ears were getting smaller. What else was in there? Well, a whole bunch of things that he noticed. And here's how he defined it. So long as the person was eating the indigenous diet, they were doing fine. And when they switched to the industrial modern diet, they were not doing fine. Health breakdowns started to appear. And since that time, there have been all kinds of studies looking at people to see how they respond to what food they put in their mouth. And it was measured as the macronutrients. The macronutrients are carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. And it's quite bizarre how simple these things are. Carbohydrate actually means that there is a carbon and hydrogen. Those are the only two atoms that are in the molecule that comprises a carbohydrate. Of course, you can have starch or alcohol or God knows what else, but it's the carbohydrate is the basis of it. If you add to it oxygen, you get fat. And if you add to it to fat and nitrogen, you get a protein. So it's really still simple. 2, 3, or 4 atoms that comprise the molecule. What was found, and you will find a lot of literature talking about how some food will make you more acidic and some food will make you more alkaline. Here's what you know. When you turn toward alkalinity, you get more sedated, relaxed, sleepy, procrastinate, but further down you get dark moods, despondence, and really, really dark, you get depression. That's all on the side of overly alkaline. Now, people keep talking about we should be alkalizing. Well, the pH balance, the scale is kind of weird. It's doesn't have a 0 in the middle. It has a 7 in the middle. So anything that's lower than 7 is acidity. Anything that's greater than 7 is alkalinity. And human tissues, or fluids, I should say, like your blood, is maintained in a very narrow range of pH, and it's somewhere around 7.35. So between 7.3 and 7.4 is the sweet spot. So it's slightly alkaline. So you will hear people talking about, you should alkalize. Well, yeah, you should alkalize, but only to 7.3 or 7.4, not beyond that. Because if you alkalize too far beyond that, you get depressed. The acidity starts below 7.35, and it's an impatient expression. You get very motivated, you get up early, but you are nervous and short-tempered and abrasive and interrupt others. And further on down, you get either very angry if it's directed outward, or you get very anxious if it's directed inward. Anxiety is where you are processing either your past, reliving all the things that you've done and should have done differently, or processing your future, imagining what's going to happen and all the things that could possibly go wrong. So that's anxiety and acidity. So if you are mismanaging your internal pH, you could be actually swinging from sleepy and depressed to anxious and unable to sleep, right? Like if you find yourself in the evening tired but wired, you are actually in the fight or flight acidic side of your autonomic nervous system. So that's about as much as I can do in 2 minutes to explain it. You can be either overly acidic or overly alkaline. Here's the trouble, and Scott hit that on the head when he said, we are all different. Some people are alkalized by carbohydrates and acidified by fats and proteins, but other people are completely reversed, where they are alkalized by fats and proteins and acidified carbohydrates.
So, Martin, that's why I can have a diet and I can be like super excited about it because I've had really good changes. And you are you say, wow, that's great, Scott. I'm going to try that diet too. And you're just like awful, right? So Martin is in a busy office, as you can see, and we're going to talk a little bit more about until I get the thumbs up, Martin, that your phones have been looked after. There are a number of different metabolic types. And when you understand which metabolic type you are, then you can take control. And that's really what this is all about. It's like George says, individualized. And Kevin has a really good comment here. What is 7.3 for the blood, not urine or saliva? That's right. 7.3 is for the blood. The urine and the saliva are a little bit different. So here's the thing. If you know the type of metabolic type that you are, then, and here's Martin back, you can actually start taking control of your life. Now, I'm one of the people, when I have a carbohydrate, I get super alkalized. So I have a sandwich at noon, 1:30, I am sound asleep, having a nap, dreaming and everything else for an hour before I wake up. And when I do wake up normally, like just in the morning, it takes me an hour to get out of bed. I wake up, I'm nice and relaxed. I don't really want to get up. I'm just like cool, everything's chill. I need to have a cup of coffee cold by my
Look at you notice that Scott. No, listen. You notice that I interrupt Scott because I am acidic type. I will do that without any compunction, and also you will find me much more abrasive than you will find Scott, because Scott is living on the alkaline side of things, and he's just jovial and pleasant, and people love to be around him. Whereas I get lots more done.
Yes.
But there is so much damage on the way.
Which is another thing, right? Like, we're talking really about awareness. I know Martin and I have worked together for 20 years. I know Martin's personality. I know how he is. I know what his heart is like. And he can go off and yell and scream and everything else for 10 minutes. And I'll just sit here. Yeah. And wait. Yeah, I understand. And then when he's done, he's done. And we'll get back to doing what we have to do. But it's crucial.
Me 10 minutes.
No. But I think this is a really important point, because if you don't understand your significant other, it causes huge problems, right? Like if you have a sandwich and you're super alkaline, and she has a sandwich and she is super acidic, she's going to be, and you're going to be like, yeah, well, whatever, right? And it's going to be a big problem. But if you understand that's how you both are, then you can deal with it. And the problem with most people is they don't understand.
So there's this thing called type A. Well, that's a bullshit category, if I may tell you, because type A, is there such a thing as type B? So
there is something, I don't know what they call it.
Well, you can sort people on whether they're extroverted or introverted. You can sort people on whether they're judging or perceiving. You can sort them whether they're extroverted toward data or extroverted toward people, or whether they like to talk, verbal or nonverbal. Like, there's so many different axes. Type A is just I
would describe type A as a New Yorker, and type B, or whatever the other type is, as someone in California on the other side, right? Like, I have a friend who definitely is a type B. He's from New York, and he is just so intense, right?
Yeah.
Sweetheart, but he comes across as really intense, totally scares the living daylights out of me.
Yeah. Okay, so let's
get back to the whole thank you, George, good analogy.
Okay,
let's get back to the metabolic typing.
Let me roll back to Kevin Johnson's question, which was 7.3. Is that about the blood or the urine and saliva and all that? Well, all of the body fluids are connected. And the blood is guarded really narrow, because all of the major organs are fed by it. So your body will defend the blood pH at cost of other things. And the other things, your urine is your natural, what you get rid of. So if you measure your urine, you will see what your body's getting rid of. So if it's getting rid of acidity, your urine will be somewhat acidic. If it's getting rid of alkalinity, it's weird. but it can happen. Now, the saliva is affected by what you're thinking about or what your emotions are, because I'll tell you, if you just start imagining very strongly right now, a lemon, I just picked up a lemon, and just pretend that you're holding it, slice it in half, slice it open, and now visualize how you're actually going to put this to your mouth and just going to bite into the lemon. Now, if you're not experiencing some saliva in your mouth, I'll eat my hat. The point is this. When you're going to check your saliva, you should do that first thing in the morning before you eat anything, after you just gently rinse your mouth. Not toothbrush, not toothpaste, just before that. That would be the indicator of what your internal pH is at the time. And the internal pH, that reflects your lymphatic system. So if you are overly acidic, that's the territory in which cancers can arise. If you're overly alkaline, that's the territory in which lymphoma or leukemia or the other cancers that are not tumor forming could arise. Right? So you need to kind of watch, and it's not just the cancer.
So, Martin, what you're really saying is some of the reasons we have these diseases that we have is because we are not balanced. We're way over on the scale one way or the other.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Yeah, totally. And what? Well, that the biggest effect is in the emotional world, right? I already mentioned anxiety. That's associated with the fight or flight. With it, you get high blood pressure, constipation, a few other things. With the parasympathetic, you will very likely not get constipation. Instead, you will likely have much looser bowel movements, all the way to too loose. And your blood pressure will not likely be high, more likely low, stuff like that.
Right.
All right. So back to, if you want to eat keto diet, that's a diet that's very low on carbohydrates. It may work for you, but you could, if you are an autonomic, be very, very bitchy. Or if you are an oxidizer, you're going to be very, very depressed. You could drive yourself into the extremes. And the
so
other
we have
extreme,
all of these people who have, like, depression is a huge, huge problem, suicides, all these sort of things. And what I'm kind of hearing is if they're just too alkaline and you just move them a little bit more towards the acidity, that might look after the problem.
That's just right. A lot of it is dietary. You could change your mood by what you eat. You remember Snickers hangry advertisement on television?
Yes.
Right? Well, that works for people for whom carbohydrates are calming. So if you are a sympathetic dominant, which would be the autonomic acidic side, then that is the thing for you. But that's only one of four. You have four corners: top, left, bottom, right, all that. And so if you're the right type, Snickers is really a decent thing. But of course, you could use an orange or a potato or a shot of whiskey. Any one of those will work because it's a high
do
carb.
the same thing. So we have a question from George. How about not enough fiber in a keto diet?
Yeah, that's a big deal. So in general, the keto diet was supposed to be lots of salads, a high volume of vegetables with some fat and a little bit of protein, but not that much. That is the true healthy keto diet. Some people totally perverted it, like Robert Atkins, who served people steak and bacon, and it worked. By the way, yeah, you could probably live on just beef, nothing else. That's a true keto diet. And, well, many cultures have proved it. Like, for example, the Native Americans that lived on the prairie and followed the bison, They had bison as their main food source. They lived on it. They were probably in ketosis for most of the time. And genetically, right? Like you get selected genetically for the food source that you live on. Because if you're a child who's born into a food resource with the genetics that don't match, you're going to have a problem. So, for example, say you're born in North Africa in some Bedouin oasis where they are growing dates, figs, pomegranates, and serve you camel milk. Starch, 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 starch. Now, if you are compatible with it, you'll thrive. But if you're not, then you'll be weak. And next time some infection runs through the village, you're gone. Now flip this and imagine somebody living in Norway, north of 60, where the growing season is about 90 days old. At best, you grow some cabbages, maybe. Otherwise, you live on codfish when it's in season, dried cod when it's out of season, salmon when it's running, dried salmon when it's not running, and in the winter you kill a reindeer.
Yeah.
Now you cannot take the Bedouin to Norway and have him thrive. And you cannot do the same thing to the Norwegian gal and bring her into North Africa, feed her dates and pomegranates. She'll be sick.
But that's kind of what we're doing, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, in America, we have this ugly melting pot. Your Norwegian grandmother mating with some African genetics and mating with some Cherokee genetics, and it's just all mixing. Now we don't know. The only thing that's left for us is experimentation. We need to figure out which type we are and how we react to food. And it's quite obvious. You eat something starchy, bowl of cereal with a banana on top, and you will go swing in one direction, either into that anxiety, acidity, or into the alkaline depression, one or the other. And then you reconfirm it with the opposite. You eat something fatty like, I don't know, bacon and eggs. Yeah, that would do it. And that should have a completely opposite reaction. Now, one thing that we have not mentioned is that there is this thing called endocrine dominance. And endocrine dominance dictates how you gain weight or lose weight. And it could be either in agreement or in conflict with your metabolic type, which is this. The thyroid types, Scott and I both are the thyroid types. Those are people who are great at sprinting, but not great at long distance.
That's so true. In university, I would run a mile, but and then there was a couple like 5 kilometer races, and that was terrible.
Could not do it. No, but you can outrun the slowpokes who can run the 3 mile or 5 mile affair, right?
That was fast.
Yeah, exactly. Well, then there's the adrenal type, which is they're built like linebackers. You can give them a shovel and a pick and tell them, dig me a trench, and they'll call back in 8 hours saying, okay, it's done. I can't do that. I can.
It's 2 miles long.
I work for 2 minutes and then I take a 1 minute break. And I work 2 more minutes and I take a 1 or 2 minute break. Anyway, the adrenal types are built very stocky. So a thyroid type like Scott and I, we gain weight with starch and lose weight with fat. So if I want to put on weight, I'll just get into pasta, pizza, spaghetti, and it'll go like this.
And bread.
Yeah, and bread. Whereas the adrenal type gains weight with fat. So you put the adrenal type on keto diet and watch that.
So Martin, I went like 15 years ago to a tailor, and I said, take my suit in. And it was like this much. Like that it was a lot.
A whole lot.
And when I came, the son of the tailor gave me the suit, and he was big. He was East Indian, and he was like round, huge, right?
Yeah.
And he said, what did you do? And I was like, what are you talking about? And what I had done was I had cut out pasta, I had cut out bread, I had cut out potatoes, and rice, and I
Yeah,
didn't
all
eat
the
any of
starches.
those for 6 months, and it wasn't like I did anything else. It was
No, you don't
absolutely
have to.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the third type that we should mention before we close is called pituitary. And yeah, George probably is the classic adrenal type.
Yeah. 300,
I would
300
love to
pounds
have
and
George.
not obese. Yep.
Yeah, I would love to have George on my team because he would carry me and all the equipment. Oh, there he goes. Football, wrestling,
All
judo.
wrestling and judo.
Yeah, he could take the two of us and throw us at the same time. Anyway, okay, so there's the third one, pituitary, and those people are gaining weight on creamy things like they love ice cream, whipping cream, fluffy food, and their health.
So they need to stay away from it, right?
Cannot. Not well, sure can, but it's going to take willpower. Anyway, and their health food, if you can believe it, are the innards like offal, which is
liver,
brain, heart, tongue, kidneys, liver, all the stuff that to you and I is just like, what?
Yeah, how can you eat that?
Well, but to me, fun food is fish, and sushi is just total delight to me. There are people who just say, oh.
Right. Cool. So Martin spent some time with a mutual friend of ours and had some really interesting insights. Unfortunately,
we'll have to do that on Telegram.
We have to do that on Telegram. We can't do it here because unfortunately, we don't want to get banned and kicked off of wherever it is that you're watching us. So,
all right.
Remind you once more.
There's one more question I want to answer. This is a really smart question, the last one, Kevin, which is Oramax is one of the several Exula superfoods that we actually make in our own shop. And we make them kind of universal in the sense that, I'll say it this way, vegetables are neutral. All types can eat them. All metabolic types should build their meals from a vegetable. And then one type can add to it some carbs. The other type can add to it some fats and proteins. So you can take this smoothie business and you can make it with coconut oil and raw eggs. And that's just pushing it in the direction of fats and proteins. Whereas another person will put bananas and apples in it, and that's pushing it with carbs. Either way, it'll work. And when you're building other meals, you always should start either from a salad or a stir fry, a pile of vegetables, and then add to it whichever is needed, either more fat or more starch.
This is why the Chinese meals are so good, right? Because
especially to the thyroid type.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we're like a minute away from having to say goodbye. Head over to t.me/life&co because you're not going to want to hear what Martin has to say about one of his consulting clients earlier today. And before we go, Martin, we just wanted to talk quickly. If you're interested in finding out like what is your metabolic type, we have a metabolic typing test, and we'll put it into the description. It's here right now for you. And
you can figure it out on your own, or you can take a shortcut, take the test. It will answer it for you pretty quick.
When they take the test, Martin, what can they expect?
They'll get an hour with me, and I'll help them integrate into their life the pile of information that is heading their way, which is a lot. It's a manual. Instruction manual.
It's a manual for healthy life, right? It's a manual for healthy life.
Yeah.
So with that, everybody, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for participating. Don't forget to like and subscribe and do all that sort of good stuff. And tell your friends at www.lifeenthusiast.com if you want to know more. It's a basic encyclopedia of health, all sorts of different articles, and Martin is very much into why does this stuff work and what are the studies behind it, and he has all of that for all the different products, and he's available also for free consultations. Just look for Martin on the site, consultant, and consultation and fill out the form, and you've got a free 15 minutes with him. Any last words before we go, Martin?
Now let's, I just want to tell you, come and meet us on the other side. I want all of you to discover the pleasures of being on Telegram.
All right. We'll see you there, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.
Bye.
See you next week.